Good morning and welcome to episode 2 of Honey University. In this episode, the most important take-home message for you will be how important it is you know where your honey comes from. The average person, when they see this structure, they think beehive, they think honey. But you know what? There's a lot more than just honey going on. When these bees are coming and going, they're doing two main things. One, yes, they're going out, they're collecting nectar to make honey. The number two thing is they're going out collecting pollen to feed their larvae. Pollen is an incredible source of protein and many other important vitamins and nutrients, and that's the primary thing that they feed their babies, which grow up into be bees. You might think that beekeepers make their money making honey. Well, that's not really true, particularly in the US. Any medium-sized to large bee operation, they make their money by renting their bees to agriculture for pollination services. They make way more money pollinating people's fields than they do honey. Honey is just an afterthought, and they will sell their honey and you will eat their honey, but I'm going to show you why you don't want to buy that honey. We're so lucky because right on our property we have so many blooming plants. Look at this gorgeous squash blossom right here. Let me film this for you. Yep, there's one of our honeybees. She's in there. I can say she because all worker bees are female. And what is she doing? Looks like she's just scratching her face, but actually she's collecting all that fuzzy, sticky, orange pollen. And she'll sticking it on her back legs. Kind of hard to see. She's collecting all that pollen to take back to the hive. It is an essential function for both the flowering plants and the bees. So how does this commercial beekeeping work for pollination services? Well, these beekeepers have thousands to tens of thousands of hives that they load up on these massive semi-trucks, and they truck them all over the country. In fact, there's kind of a schedule for where to go at what time of year. Check out this map of the US, and it shows some of the major circuits that the trucks take from, and some of these major crops are. The number one of them all is almonds in California. Almost every big beekeeper in the entire US comes to the almonds in January and February. They make $200, $300 per hive for about 3 weeks of work. That's a lot of money. And from there, they pack the bees up and they go to the next place, whether it be blueberries, alfalfa, cranberries, melons, cucumbers. It's a lot going on for these guys. They're constantly on the move. But the fact that they're pollinating commercial agricultural crops means that their bees are being subjected to all types of chemicals. Chemicals that are coming from the air, they're coming from the ground. These chemicals are meant to protect these crops for the farmers. The bees, sometimes they tolerate it, sometimes they die, but every time they bring in those chemicals back into the hive. They go into the hive, they go into the honey, they're in the pollen, they're everywhere. You know, there are some things that I will eat that are not organic and I don't really care, you know, like an avocado. Its skin is so thick, and if it gets sprayed, the spray is not going to penetrate that skin. But honey is different. Those pesticides, fungicides, all those sides are getting wicked right into the nectar. The nectar is being put into the hive and then concentrated into honey. So when you're eating honey, you're getting that concentrated chemical blast. Now trust me, the FDA would not allow beekeepers and these big honey producers to sell honey with levels that are deemed unsafe, but do you really want to eat that stuff? As these commercial beekeepers truck their bees from one pollination contract to the next, basically one crop to the next, sometimes there's a time space in between. So what happens then, they just park their bees somewhere in some back lot where there's really nothing for the bees to eat. And in those cases, they have to feed their bees. They don't feed them anything like natural nectar. No, they give them a concentrated corn syrup. The bees can survive on that, and they drink it like crazy, and they put it in their hive. In fact, it will end up in the honey. So when you're buying honey from commercial beekeepers, you're also buying their corn syrup. There's no question that these commercial beekeepers are providing an invaluable service. About 75% of the food on your plate is completely dependent upon the pollination service that these guys are providing. But when it comes to honey, I think it's really important you go the extra mile and yes, spend the extra $1 to get certified organic honey. At the Rare Hawaiian Honey Company, we only make certified organic honey. And I can tell you from my own experience, it's a lot harder. It's a lot more work. That's why it's more expensive. For example, these bees can fly 3 miles away from the hive. So when we go look for a new site, we have to survey a 6-mile diameter of property to see what's happening. If we see crops growing, we have to go interview that farmer and ask him, hey, are you an organic farmer? Do you spray? And then we have to get signed statements from all these property owners saying that they don't use chemicals. So look, it's really hard work, but it's well worth it. When you buy our honey, I can promise you, you can send our honey to any lab and it will come up absolutely clean. Look, that's a wrap for episode 2. Thanks for your patience. I hope you enjoy these and stay tuned for our next episode of Honey University.